Welcome to the Rewilding Womb, a space where birth, body wisdom, and feminine power are remembered and reclaimed. I'm Sabrina, an out-of-hospital midwife devoted to physiological birth, deep listening, and protecting the sacred threshold of pregnancy, birth, and postpartum.
And I'm Danielle, a photographer and doula, here to witness, support, and document the raw, transformative journey of being a woman. Together, we're having honest conversations about birth, postpartum, boundaries, and what it means to return to our instincts in a modern world.
This is the Rewilding Womb, where we trust birth, honor the mother, and come home to ourselves. Okay, welcome to another episode of the Rewilding Womb. Danielle and I are here with our friend Raven today. Raven has one daughter, and she had a home birth with her first child. And so Raven and I got to know each other very well during that pregnancy and that delivery and her postpartum. But she came to know who I was because she worked at a chiropractor's office, who I was actually that chiropractor's midwife.
Yes.
And I was a patient in that office too. So we kind of knew each other a little bit. And then you called me one day and said, "Hey, I have a question."
Yeah.
And you know, the one thing I remember the most, your biggest question that you had for me, and I want to just talk about this. If it's okay. I remember your biggest concern was, I am so young.
Yeah.
Is this going to be an okay option for me?
Yeah.
And do you remember what my answer was?
I mean, you were absolutely like, yes, you can do anything. I mean, like you just had this like assuredness about you that like, yeah, I was young, but it was gonna be okay. And like that wasn't really relevant, honestly. And that was so reassuring at that time because I think I was 18 at the time. And so to me, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm so young. And you're like, girl, you don't even know. So that was great.
Yeah. And for people who've watched our episodes before, maybe saw my story, I'm a little biased towards the young moms because I was a very,
Yeah.
very young mom. And this is something that I've seen over the years of being a midwife, and that is that young women who are becoming moms for the first time have an advantage that more mature women do not have. And that's that you've had less time to be conditioned in your own selfish tendencies, quite frankly.
Yeah.
You know, and I think it is a big advantage to women who are like 33 having their first baby. And it's such like those of us younger moms, we tend to be able to adapt and shift a little bit easier than like a
Yeah.
30 something new mom. And I know that people say a lot of times like so and so's pregnant, but they're only 20 or they're like brand new married and they're
Yeah.
young, and I just hope they're a good mom. And I'm always like, and I might have told you this too during your pregnancy, I don't remember, but I just believe wholeheartedly it doesn't matter how old you are when you become a mother, you're either going to be a good mom or you're not going to be a good mom. And
Yeah.
for some women, maturity does help with just accepting responsibility, but that nurturing connection and that love for your child, it's just it doesn't matter how old you are.
How old you are. Yeah,
If that's going to be
absolutely.
there in for you as a person, it's going to be there when you're 19 or when you're 30, you
Yeah.
know? But,
Yeah.
but anyway, another little bit about Raven is that she had a pretty, traumatic, I'd call it traumatic life, her coming
Yeah.
into the world herself, her childhood. And so we had to navigate some of those things, thinking about you having your own child and to keep some of those things in perspective. But
Yeah.
I think Danielle and I don't really have a huge agenda. So
Okay.
our whole purpose is like, we want you to share a little bit about yourself, what you're comfortable sharing. And then I just know that your story is going to touch somebody who's going to listen to this and they're going to feel inspired and empowered. And so we just want you to share a little bit about yourself and
Yeah.
where you are today. And then we'll ask you questions.
Okay. Well, thank you. Yeah. So I'll kind of give you the short and sweet like version. Like you mentioned, I definitely didn't have the average like upbringing. So, and I'm glad that you brought up the young mom part and like all the fear I had around that because it directly ties into my story. So, my mom was very young when she had me. So she was 17. I think that's where a lot of that fear came from. But she was 17, and both my parents were in active addiction when I was born. So, my dad actually was incarcerated shortly after I was born, and I lived, with my very young mom who didn't have a lot of support until about 3. And honestly, it was kind of off and on. Like she was kind of in and out. So for periods of time, I was with like her mom, so kind of my grandmother. So I mean, 0 to 3 was very chaotic. And knowing what I know now about how the brain builds connections, and I mean, that's like where all of that happens. So, 0 to 3 was hard, and then, at 3, I was actually she had left me with her mom, and her mom actually dropped me off at a hospital and said, "Hey, I don't know where her mom is, and I'm raising this 3-year-old." And, she was very mentally unstable, and so just from there, it was she couldn't take care of me, and so that was what she knew to do. So she took me to a hospital, and then from there, my father's parents adopted me. So I was adopted by my grandmother and grandfather. And I know them mostly as my parents, really. So they raised me from about 3 to 15. Um, so it was very chaotic at first. And then really I had a lot of stability in that time period. I mean, I had like mom and dad as close as I could get to that. I mean, I really do see them as my parents. And they really kept me sheltered from kind of the mess of my mom and my dad. So at that point, like my mom and I did not have a relationship. Like, we didn't she was in and out of, jail. And so we would kind of like I knew her via letters, but that was kind of it. So my grandparents kept me very sheltered. And then I think at like 14, 15, I started getting older and some of this just gunk was coming out. I mean, you 14-year-old girl, you know. So I started dealing with all the emotions and like, why does my life look like this? And like, what is going on? And so I kind of started running in the wrong crowd. I was kind of following my parents' footsteps, and I won't go too much into that, but I mean that's its own podcast in itself. But so yeah, my grandparents and I kind of started I mean, I was angry and I was doing all the things, and they were older, and they weren't really in a place to deal with another crazy teenager. I mean, they'd already been through my dad and his addiction. So, actually at 15, I ended up leaving my grandparents, and it was crazy for a little bit. I went and lived with my dad who was very active in addiction, so I saw a lot of that like firsthand. Um and then at some points I was living with friends, and then at some points I had um found my mom. So I hadn't seen her since like 3, and so I was 16 now, and I found my mom and we had reconnected. But at the time, I was, doing my own thing, and I was using drugs and being crazy, and so it was just not a great relationship. Um, that kind of evolved into her and I tried to build a relationship, but she was in a very bad place, and so I actually ended up going into foster care from that. So at 16, I went into the foster care system. Um, and it was honestly a blessing now, because I really learned how to be an adult and like do all of the things. But at the time, it was very traumatic. Um, so I just kind of had this like unstable upbringing. And then in foster care, I was in there for about a year and a half. And I actually ended up, they said I could turn 18 faster or I could graduate high school faster. So I decided to graduate. I actually, graduated high school, like, my junior year, and then they emancipated me out, and so I've been an adult and basically doing my own thing since then. I think I was 17 when I, like, officially an adult, and then, anyway, so that was all of the stuff that I was bringing into, like, being 18 and finding out, like, I'm pregnant and I'm about to have a baby and, like, start my life. And that was kind of my background. So, yeah, lots of fear on, like, okay, I'm young, and I just knew my mom's experience. She was young and she just did not handle it well. And so that I think that's where I was coming from with you. Like, oh my God, like I'm 18. Like, I just was like so sure that that was the life path that I had like signed myself up for. And so, yeah, that was a lot, but that's kinda like the short and sweet version of how I got to, like, at least pregnancy.
I do have one question, and that's about you said when you got into foster care that you
Mhm.
learned a lot, you learned how to be an adult. And I'm just curious if we can break that down a little bit. Was it
Sure.
because of the particular family that you were placed with, or were there programs that they put you in, or had you kind of like maybe hit a rock bottom of your own and you were ready to start making positive changes in your life at that point?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think at 16, at that point, I had seen now both my parents in addiction, and really in this place where it was like this is what I was born into, and I had just been around all of this horrible stuff. And then my grandparents and I didn't get along, so I was kind of just raising myself, and it was kind of a rough road into foster care, but they like my stepdad at the time had like called the services and just said, "Hey, like, we don't know what to do, blah blah blah." So basically, like at that point, it was like I had been trying to raise myself, but like without the authority to. So like going into foster care almost was like, okay, now I am like officially on my own. And like it kind of gave me like the power to like do all the things. Like, for example, I was 16 and the closest home that would take me was in Jeff City because I was older. I actually had ran away when they initially took me into foster care. Like I told them I had to go to the bathroom and like I ran away and like I left and like they couldn't find I had to like come turn myself in and be like, "Hey, okay," so I was a flight risk, like all the things. So the closest home that would take me was in Jeff City. And so at that point I was going to Rockbridge, and I knew if I wanted to graduate early, I needed to stay at Rockbridge because they had that AUT thing, and so I had worked out my hours. Problem was is I was living in Jeff City in foster care. So I actually worked out a deal and I was like, look, like I'm going to graduate. If I drive myself to Columbia every single day, like, can I stay at Rockbridge and finish this year so I can be done? And they're like, yeah, if you figure it out. So that was adult. Like, it was like, okay. So I was living in a foster home in Jeff City and I drove myself to high school every day in Columbia, back and forth. And I was working a little coffee shop job. So I'd like drive to Columbia, go to high school, and then go to this coffee shop till midnight, and then go back and do it all over again. And that was junior year of high school. Um, I also like I learned how to file my own taxes like at that. So my foster mom, like it was like, how do I file? Like she showed me how to file taxes. So like all of those things, like I feel like I learned at that point was like, okay, like if I want to graduate and be an adult, then I have to get to work, make sure I have enough gas in the car to get to Columbia, to get to school. So that was just kind of the beginning of like, okay, now legally nobody's in charge of me, and I kind of had the authority to be in charge of myself, but in foster care, if that makes sense. So it was kind of a weird. I don't know. Like I don't know. It was like I don't know if that makes sense what I'm trying to say, but
I feel like you had to have been at a point in your life where maybe it's because you know that your life started out very like traumatic, and then you were in this safe place through a lot of your young childhood, and then you experienced your mom and your dad's lives for a while,
yeah.
and I don't know, there had to have been something in you that made you want to do what was right and what was good for you at that time, and
Yeah.
I imagine it was just a taste of okay, this is what mom and dad's lives really are, and I'm
Yeah.
curious,
Yeah.
looking back, if your grandparents were a little bit more willing to have done the hard work and didn't just let you go back into your parents'
Yeah.
worlds, if things would have turned out differently, because I bet you anything, you just like leaving their house and going back with, and being with your dad for a while, being with your mom for a while, and or at least knowing of their lives at that time, maybe was an eye-opening experience for you.
It was something. Yeah, it really was. Because my grandparents adopted me at 3 and kept me very sheltered. So like I knew I had parents in addiction, but I didn't really know what that meant. Well, then at 15, you like kick me out and I go live with this parent in addiction. So that was, it really was. It was wild. So it was almost like they kept me very sheltered and then like threw me to the wolves almost is how I felt.
Are you still in connection with these
Um,
grandparents of yours?
Yeah, honestly. So,
Okay.
And I love him to death. I mean,
Okay.
I really do. We have a good relationship now, and it's been a lot kind of leading up into that. But really, I do look at them as my parents. I mean, they put in a lot of work in the years where others didn't, But yeah, we did. There's some unresolved stuff in that for sure. Um, but it was almost like 0 to 100, and then yeah, I mean, also like being in Colombia and born and raised, I had a lot of friends that were kind of in the same like our parents had run around together, and there's like kind of that crowd that's from Colombia that Colombia's a small town and underneath, and so it was just kind of like this common theme of like really seeing my parents and, like, where they were at in their 40s, and, I mean, addicts with nothing, and then seeing friends. I mean, I had a couple friends pass away. I had a boyfriend at the time overdosed and passed away, so it was just like, yeah, I hit this point, and it was almost like foster care kinda, like, pulled me out of it and was like, "Either you're gonna keep doing these things, or this is your chance to, like, do something different." And so I think it was, like, just seeing everyone else's rock bottom and kinda getting like, I knew mine was coming, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm done. I don't want this life," you know?
And
Um
I feel like with my story, sometimes I'll look back at it because since we shared my story a couple of weeks ago, I've had conversations with people and they're like, "Tell me more about this," or "Tell me more about that." And honestly, there are definitely things in my own life that I'm just like, "Listen, I don't know why I made a good choice at that moment, at that turn. I
Yeah.
can't tell you why I made a good decision." Sometimes I feel like there's maybe some divine intervention in my life that was just like, "No, Sabrina, I'm gonna let you go this far, but no further.
Yeah.
You're for whatever reason, you're just gonna say, I'm not going that far." And
Yeah.
just same thing. It's like, why did I stay in high school and graduate early and do the hard stuff to do
Right.
that while I had all this other stuff going on? So I understand if you can't fully explain it because I know there's
Yeah.
things about that in my story where I can't fully say this is why I made a good decision there because I don't really know. I wonder if
Yeah.
you just have some
It just
guidance that was
felt
like, I'm
it.
going to do the
Yes.
right.
Yeah.
This feels right for me. I want to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah, you feel it. It's a feeling. It's like this intuition, this connection that you feel, or like a self-awareness. Like,
Mhm.
hey, I'm noticing this pattern. So it's like that pattern seekers. Like that's
Yeah.
how I am with everything I do is like my brain like takes in all these patterns. And when I
Mhm.
start seeing something unfold a certain way, I already know how that's going to come about, like what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I'm not no fortune teller or anything like that, but I can see that pattern and how it unfolds, and it usually comes out to that.
Yeah.
And so with my parents, the same way, I did not want to be like them. I wanted to be something different. And you can either stay in what you know, or you can actually tell yourself there's something greater out there. There's
Yeah.
something better. And then it is a lot of times too who you are surrounded by as well. And I'm so glad that you had with the foster care system, it sounds like they were able to find you a good home that was able to
I mean, it
show
was
you some stuff, like,
yeah, yeah.
or just like give you, like you said, with the taxes
They
and
kinda
like
gave me, like,
knowing
pieces.
pieces, okay,
Yeah.
because they were
Yeah.
probably occupied with a lot of other things as well, or I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know. That would I have a question on that with the foster care system.
Yeah.
So like as a 16-year-old, how does that kinda look like in when you get placed into foster care?
Yeah, I
Like,
mean,
so
that's
yeah.
part of the reason,
Mhm.
like, I was in Jeff City because, I mean, just being a teenager in
Yeah.
foster care, I mean, most people don't wanna sign up for that
Right,
because that's a world of problems. I mean, you got 16 years of
uh,
baggage, most people aren't gonna let that into their
mhm.
house. And honestly, like, to be fair, I mean, I was angry and pissed off, and I mean, I
Yeah.
wouldn't let that person in my house either, like
All the things
all the
going into
things,
that
especially
home,
some
yeah.
16-year-old, running
Mhm.
around. So, like, it was just hard to like. I mean, nobody in Columbia would take me. I mean, that's why I was in Jeff
Yeah,
City because
yeah.
it was. I was actually really blessed with the lady. It was like a single woman. AJ was her name, and like it was rocky. I mean, there were some things I didn't like, but honestly, like there were some things that I did. Like she showed me how to do taxes and
Mhm.
all that. But that's why I ended up in Jeff City because nowhere
Would
in Colombia would A, take a 16-year-old girl and B, one that was marked a flight risk because I had like ran away initially. Um, so that it was honestly, if she hadn't have taken me, I would have been in a Jeff City group home.
Mhm.
So thank God, because
Mhm.
that it was even worse. But
Mhm.
Yeah, luckily, I mean, she's a really good person. She, like, took in a lot of teenagers. So, like,
Mhm.
she was kinda like the foster mom that would, like, take in the
Yeah.
unwanted teenage kids. So she chose that and, like, did that for lots of other people, and so I was just blessed that, like, she was, willing to take me, but if she hadn't, yeah, it would've been a group home, and it would've been, I mean, who knows? I don't
Mhm.
know. Um, yeah, so
Yeah.
I'm just blessed that that was where I went with her, but,
Yeah, so I'm just trying to wrap my head around that because I can't even think of like, when I was a teenager, I was, quite difficult at times too. Like, my mom bounced around to different homes, and we had different she had different boyfriends, and so we had different places that we would live, and she'd break up with a boyfriend, and then we would go and move somewhere else. That's me and my sister. And so, like, when I was 16, I got my first job as well, and that was in Hollywood, and so I used to walk the streets of Hollywood late at night and then
oh,
come home and,
wow.
like but like Sabrina was saying, I had this determination, like, this feeling inside me, like, there's a lot of stuff going around me. Like, I
Yeah,
see there's, like, strip clubs, there's, like, prostitutes, there's
yeah.
drug addicts, there's the homeless, there's all these things that I can dabble into almost in a way. Like,
Mhm.
if, like, I have that adventurous mind, like, I can kinda, like, swing
That
into
looks
something.
fun.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
looks good. That looks fun. That looks like I love their outfits, things
Yeah.
like that. But there was another part of me that said, "No. No. I want something I feel like just inside of me, there's something grander out there." It's just like this
Yeah.
sense of like, that's not my purpose. There's
Yeah.
something better.
Mhm.
And I don't know how to explain
I
that. That's
relate
just
a lot. I think it's
yeah.
a
Yeah.
God thing, and it's also, like, for me, I mean, it's definitely a God thing for sure. But and also, like, for me, like you said with your parents, I mean, I had 2 of the worst examples on, like, if you walk this out, here's where you go, and it's my own parents. So it was like, "What am I doing?" Like, what
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
"Whoa."
Yeah.
That and yeah, I mean, it had to have been a God thing because I mean, yeah, like, logically, that makes sense, but when that's the environment that you're in and you're around, like, there was something in me that was, like, not okay with that, and I know that that was higher than me because
Mhm.
most
Mhm.
people that were born into that and then my friends, I mean, they didn't even see the flaw in
Right.
because, how do you know? I mean,
Right.
that's all you know. But there was something yeah, and I
Mhm.
think it's a higher up thing because there was something that was like, that just wasn't right for me, and
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
watched everyone around me, like, be okay with it, and I was like,
Yeah.
"People are dying." I mean,
Yes.
what this is not
Right.
life. I mean, I just knew
So
life was more than that.
I have a question with this too, because I saw your post recently about a dear friend of yours that passed away from overdose.
Yeah.
And so that goes back to when you are communicating with your friends, you're trying to tell them this, like, hey, I've noticed this pattern, or hey, you're doing great. I don't want you to go down this road again. That feeling of like that you knew in yourself that this isn't good, but conversating and connecting with someone and letting them know about that, but they have the awareness around
Yeah.
it. That is where I think this is all coming from too, is
Mhm.
that self-awareness again. But like, kind of tell me a little bit how that affected your life at that time. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, that's hard. I think I felt that, I mean, I wanna say with my parents a lot because it
Yeah.
was, like, watching them, um and, like, knowing, like, that's not right, but why would you still do that? It's like, I've really learned at this point in my life, like, I can like, to have love for those people, I have love for my parents and for people
Mhm.
in that place, but I also, like, I mean, I have to have strong boundaries and, like,
Yeah.
there's certain things and people that I don't go around, and I just
Yeah.
because I know that that's where they're at, and
Mhm.
I've also been there,
Yeah.
so I get that. But that's something, especially like in the addict perspective. I mean, that's just you can't give that to anybody. I mean, that's something you have to find on your own. And with it, I mean, for me, it was me and God, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And that's something everyone has to find for themselves. So, but that is something that's hard to wrestle with, especially with seeing people that you love in those spaces. Is hey, I have love for you, and but also, I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
you can't do it for them. You can't pull them
Right.
out of it either.
That's, like,
So,
what's so hard is that the boundaries, taking, having them take accountability, and that's going to your parents, back to your parents. Because I don't
yeah.
know if you had conversations with them at all, um, about how they were treating you or what they were doing. I don't know if they just decided to be like, okay, not even answer those questions that you had.
Yeah.
I don't know how that interaction was between you and the parents or even your grandparents, honestly, because
Yeah.
that's it. When you told me that they kicked you out, that brought me back to some memories of me.
Oh,
I,
do you
I,
the conversations I had with this girl about
I
that situation?
so that is yeah. So I'm like,
Yeah.
and I am surrounded by people that are completely blind when it comes to the work that they need to do
Yeah.
on themselves.
That's a hard one. I mean, that's a hard one. And I just try to have love for those people and meet them where they're
And I
at,
love that.
I mean, yeah.
I
But,
love
like,
that. Yeah.
I think
yeah.
having, obviously
Yeah.
in my family, like, on all sides of our family, there's a lot of addicts, and then there's just mentally unhealthy people who don't know how to, like, respect boundaries or anything like that, and those kind
Mhm.
of people, there are and there's a lot of people very close to me in my life that they have a lot of, like, self-improvement that they could and should be doing, but it's not for me to make them do that
Yeah.
because I can't, and so there's just so much that I just realized people I kinda got in trouble for this comment, like, probably 4 or 5 years ago when someone is like, "How's this blah, blah, blah going?" I'm like, "Listen, I've just learned to lower expectations." When
Yeah.
you lower your expectations for the other people in your life, you
Yep.
just stop being disappointed, and you're just life is a lot better that way,
I
and
love that. I mean, yeah.
I yeah, I feel like I'm starting to do that too. And it hurts me inside because, like, with my personality type, I want to build connection with everyone and I want everyone to kind of be on the same level in a way,
Yeah.
but see it in a way where it's like just to be able to connect and understand what everyone's saying and hear us, like hear
Yeah.
one another, just listen and be, eye contact and listen and be like, hey, I understand this. Oh, yes, you're right.
Yeah.
Just to take accountability.
Yeah.
And so, like, that's with your parents and your grandparents, um, yeah, I don't know if there was some history there with their son and the way
Yeah.
they handled things, that can be from another topic if you don't wanna address that, but, like,
No,
I
that's a
feel
good
like there's
question.
something there that happened with the grandparents and
Yeah.
their own son, and then when that same age, that same timeline
Yeah.
where it's like they just don't know how to handle something, and that's their way of just getting over with it or being
Yeah.
done with it. It's like, "See ya, bye,
Yeah,
kick you out."
I'm glad you
And
brought that up, yeah, because
that
I think we view that very differently, like,
okay.
I mean, like, my version of events
Uh-huh.
versus theirs is probably a lot different in
Yes,
that
yes,
situation.
yes.
Um, yeah,
And
yeah,
I have a teenager right now, she's 15, and I understand there's a lot of stuff, like, when it comes to, even with me being diagnosed, ADHD and, neurodivergence, but, like, I know, like, I understand my daughter on a deeper level, and when I was her age, like, her and I have some similarities, but I would have been obviously kicked out. My sister was kicked out.
mhm,
I was kicked out numerous times. I was told to go live with my dad or go be with a friend or go with my
right,
boyfriend, like, because they couldn't handle the emotions.
yeah,
Mm.
They couldn't handle who you
yeah,
truly were, which is so beautiful because in a way, people that are so pure, authentic, and emotional and that can get their point across and just be real about something, that scares a lot of people.
thank you for saying I feel so validated right now.
the gist of it all,
Yeah,
Danielle.
we
I
can
like
just end it
summarized
there.
all of it.
Yeah. No,
so
like that is so true. I
no,
think because I mean, I think I have a very strong personality. I'm opinionated,
mhm.
especially when my emotions are behind it, And so being 16, yeah, I think it was a mix of they had already dealt with it with my dad and some of it with my mom, and it was like, and here they were raising me. And I think I hit that age where for them, they were living all that again. And
Mhm.
I genuinely think they just didn't want to put in the work because, I mean, really, honestly, yeah, I was 16 and I mean, 15 actually.
Huh.
And I had all this chaotic life, and I was in a lot of pain. I mean, it was emotional pain, but like that's why I was doing all of these things. And I don't think that they could meet me there.
Yeah.
I think in their eyes, it was like, well, we took you in and we raised you, and like it should all be okay. And it's like, you did, and you filled a lot of those gaps.
Yes.
But, I mean,
Yes.
0 to 3, formative years, all of the, everything. Like, it doesn't just take that away.
Right.
And then, I hit that juvenile age where it was like, okay, she's wild and crazy, and like, we don't want to deal with it. And, I mean, knowing what I know now, and like, hopefully I'll continue this thought when my daughter's a teenager, but I'm like, that's the last thing I would have done. I mean, that kid, that person that I was needed like love and support and like to, and they just kind of washed their hands with me, and that was that. And so, I mean, it's not, it was.
And I don't know where things are now, but do you feel like that's a situation that it's just like, now that you have your life together, you guys have a relationship, it's just something you don't revisit that. You don't talk about, like, there are definitely issues that you guys just don't talk about. You just don't go there. Is that
Yeah.
right, or is that not right?
I mean, you're pretty on point. Like I think we've tried to have that conversation, but I think there's just such a big contrast between my version of events and what is true in me and my story versus mostly my grandmother. I mean, my grandfather and I, we really get along well, but my grandmother, I mean, we butt heads a lot. And I think she's got a very different opinion. And at her age and where she's at in life, her version of events is quite different than mine. Unfortunately, I don't think that she can fully quite put herself in my shoes. I think that I really do try to empathize with them, and hey, you were older and you were raising me. Like, I understand. But I don't think that she can understand my perspective. I mean, I've opened that door a couple times, and and it's like,
It doesn't go anywhere.
and
Back out and close that door.
and I would hope maybe at one point that we get, but kind of coming back to, I mean, you meet people where they're at, and
Exactly.
and I love her. I have so much love for her, and I'm grateful. I mean, for the years that they did put in. But my version of events,
It's just
I'm
different.
not gonna fight to get that perspective into her, because if she's not in a place to hear me, that's where she's at.
Yes.
Yep.
And so I'm with grace, but I'm not gonna, and now if she came and wanted to mend that and maybe work on it, that's one thing. But I just don't think we're there. So
So how old are your kiddos?
my daughter,
Or your daughter?
yeah,
One.
so my
Okay,
daughter,
one.
she's 3. She turned 3
She's
in
3.
December.
Okay.
So she's a little over 3.
Okay.
And I'm thinking back right now to my pregnancy journey, and I mean, Sabrina and I there was a lot of conversation, because at the time I was living with my grandmother, and I mean, even like saying, hey, like, I'm having a home birth, like, that was, oh my gosh. I mean, it was like, and then it was at the time I was living with my grandmother, like, because I had, gone out, been on my own for a little bit, and then it was like I was pregnant, so I kind of ended up back with them again to try to get like, okay, here I am, young and pregnant, like, let me. So luckily, like I said, we had kind of mended our relationship enough to where like we had that connection. So at the time when I found out I was pregnant, I was living with them. Um, and that was wild. I honestly think though that like that was where I really started learning how to put up boundaries, like with my grandmother specifically. Um
Those first babies.
those
those
first,
Uh-huh.
oh man, yeah. And especially after talking with you, and like I would be like, well, because it was like I wanted a home birth, and that was huge. Like, I mean, she had 2 cesareans and 2 generations back, right? So like that was just like absurd to even bring home that concept. And then to be like, and I want to do it in your house because like I'm living here, like that was even crazier. So actually, like, the plan was I was gonna have a home birth in her house, like, because her dad and I were, I mean, she was an accident baby, we were both young, like, didn't plan it. So her dad and I were trying to like do all the things to get as prepared as we could be. And like we had a little house that we were like trying to get ready, but like we didn't know if that house was gonna be ready or not. So like the plan was to birth at my grandma's, and Oh my gosh. I mean, we went around and around. I think Sabrina literally wanted to shake me and be like, please don't do that. But she was like, I'm gonna support you and like do whatever you think is best. But like we just, I knew in my like gut it wasn't right. Because she didn't agree with my birth plan. So like why but
And,
whatever.
and the biggest reason I had was they were gracious to me. We did several prenatal visits there. They were gracious and kind to me. My only thing is the energy of the people around you can affect your labor.
Yeah.
And labor is hard enough with a first baby, let alone you have people around you that are like, this is crazy. Why are we doing this? Why is this happening in our house?
Yeah.
And because I know this sounds like woo woo to a lot of people, but someone else's thoughts or opinions or feelings, even if they're not in the same room with you, even if they're not even in the same house with you, they can't, because they're connected with you, can affect you.
Yeah.
They definitely can affect you. And
Yeah.
so it's just best, like eventually I'm with family members who don't agree on your chosen
plan.
method of delivery and location of delivery. I really encourage, please don't even tell them that you're in labor.
Right.
Please just let them know after the baby is born so that they don't have all this anxious energy over here directing towards you, so that you can have a labor and a birth that is yours and not being affected by someone else's fear and anxiety and worry and doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fear projection was huge. Oh my gosh. And I
That didn't
think
surprise me.
all women feel that.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, just any
Yeah.
woman that's pregnant. I mean, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I mean, you get like this, like just bombarded with like, but if I hadn't have been in the hospital, like my baby would have died. Or if I hadn't have done that, or my pelvis is too small. I mean, all of these insane lies and like fear-based, I mean, just all of it, and you get it thrown at you throughout your whole pregnancy, or at least I did. I mean,
Everyone does.
the good I mean, it's crazy what women, like, believe, and then, like, will harass other women about. Yeah, I mean, it almost felt like harassment.
Keep your trauma to yourself.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
like,
Keep your trauma over
yeah,
here.
They're
keep
just
your
all
fear-based,
projecting.
like, projections
that's all
over
they are
there. I mean, it
doing.
was like, whoa. And that was just tip of the iceberg, I think,
But a
and
good
that
thing that you had going for you is your employer had home births.
yeah, that was huge. So that let me kind of talk about that because
Yeah.
yeah. So I honestly happen to be like right place, right time. So like
Uh-huh.
like it real another like God thing, right?
Yes.
Like I couldn't even have pictured I'd be right here right now. But I mean, it's just crazy. But yeah, so at the time, like kind of backtracking, like went into foster care. It was kind of wild on my own for a while. And I was living on my own for a couple years, and then I kind of hit a point where like I was working a crappy like gas station job, like I was with a crappy boyfriend in a crappy apartment, like everything was crappy. And I was like, what am I doing? And so I like random like had a come to Jesus moment, like went on Indeed and was like healthcare, like I like helping people, like let me just go there. And the first thing that popped up was this chiropractic office. And like I don't know anything about healthcare. I'm like fresh 18, or maybe I was 17, almost 18. I was young. But I didn't know anything, and so I just, like, on a whim, it was, like, front desk job, like, let me just apply and see what happens. Like I said, I was working at like, a break time or something. Like, what the hell was I doing? I don't even know, but, so let me just try this. It can't get any worse than this, right? And so, yeah, I went in and I met my now boss, Dr. Kelly, at the time, Dr. Kelly Winarski, and she was a mom of 4. She had just had her 4th, and I mean, she was a chiropractor, and that's really all I knew. But I just instantly like something clicked, and I was like, this is a cool place. So she liked me, and so I just started entry level, and I was there about a year and a half, just learning about chiropractic. And I just want to stop there for a moment because that was life changing for me. Because up until this point, life was like trauma and chaos and like one place to another. I mean, I probably lived in 20 different homes between like 0 to 18. I mean, between foster care and moms and dads and grandmas. Um, and so, and I didn't know any of this at the time, but I mean, you store all of this physically. Fast forward, somebody put me in the hands of some awesome chiropractors, and it was like I started like working on the trauma that was like stored in my body because I started getting chiropractic care and like
Because as an employee there, you get free
'cause
chiropractic care.
yeah. So I started working at the chiropractic
You didn't have to
office.
pay for it. It's like, my
Exactly.
boss is
And
giving
it
me
was
this
free
treatment for free.
care, and I'm like, "Hell yeah." I mean, I didn't really know, but, like, people felt good. I'm like, "Okay, I don't know anything, but, like, this is great. It's free. Like,
I love it.
I feel great. Like, let's do it."
Listen,
Yeah.
I just want to interject because my oldest daughter actually had your job at their office.
Yes, yeah.
It was her well, it was actually her third primary job, but she worked at a mortgage office for a couple of years straight out of high school, and then she couldn't handle the banking. She was like, I cannot do this. So then she went to work with Kelly.
Okay.
And listen, their chiropractic care through her second pregnancy just saved her.
Yeah.
Sometimes they were adjusting her every single day, and they are so good at pregnancy.
Oh my
They're so
gosh.
good. So anyway, she had your job, and she also benefited
Yes.
from the free chiropractic. I'm like, girl,
Yes.
you are saving so much money by working at that
Oh my
office right now and getting adjustments all the
Yes.
time.
I mean,
So,
little did I know. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was just like,
So
I
you
just
just-
wanted a healthcare job. Like,
so
I
you just
didn't
kind
know.
of stumbled into getting all this chiropractic care,
Yeah.
and you started realizing what it was doing for your body physically
Yeah.
and like nervous system wise is what you're saying?
Exactly. Like,
Okay.
I genuinely feel like, and I've even made posts about this, and I genuinely feel like after having like probably a couple months of chiropractic care, like that was the first time I was like, oh my God, like nervous system regulation. Like I don't think I'd ever felt that, you know? Because I mean, just all of this chaos. I mean, none of the adults in my life, grandparents included, like, yes, they were there for the roles, but like none of the adults in my life really handled emotions well. I mean, like confrontation, any of the things well. So I had zero examples of like what a stable nervous system looked like, or felt like. But yeah, chiropractic care, it was like that physical level of like, here is a stable nervous system. And then it was just up from there. And it was probably, I mean, it just started opening my eyes. And I started, like, I didn't know anything about chiropractic. And a big thing that was huge for me too I was seeing people feel better and live better, move better, and it was all like natural and like drug free. And that was huge because at the time, like almost everybody I knew in my life was an addict, you know, or at least like in the realm. So then to bring in like healthcare, that was like a huge jump. But then like natural healthcare, like no drugs, no meds healthcare, it was like, holy crap, like this is crazy. And I had never heard of it until I like did a job application at 18. So I'm like, why do people not know about this? Like this is, and then it's like life changed from there. Like now it's like, but I mean, it really was. It was like, wow.
But that was your exposure to the idea of home birth.
Yeah. So then So then I like working there. I was there about a year and a half, and they did our office. I'm still at that office, and they specialize in Webster technique pregnancy care. So I met Sabrina. I met, a lot of moms that were either like pregnant or wanting to conceive, or honestly, we saw a lot of newborns. So like I was seeing all these women, and a lot of them were your moms actually. And like before I ever even knew I was going to be pregnant, like I had kind of started noticing this trend of like all the women that were under your care or like home birth, or like all of the families that really utilize that natural holistic care. I'm like, these people are like, I don't know, like they got the life hack, right? Like, I mean, it was crazy to come from like what I come from and see that like all the babies, I mean, the babies were bigger and healthier, and like bigger is one thing, but like healthy and like had less complications, and like moms were bouncing back after labor, and like there was such a big difference in the way they would come to our office as clients. Like I could almost tell you just looking at the baby,
who was a home birth family and who was not.
Yeah, or reading the like day one
Interesting.
script. Like I'm like, that baby was born at home, or like I could see that just in working there for like a year. Then a year and a half later, I'm like 18 and some change, and I'm like, oh no, like I'm pregnant. And God's timing, like I am so grateful. But at the time, I was like, oh gosh, like that was totally unexpected. What am I? Yeah, I mean, all that fear, like I hadn't really unpacked any of this stuff. Like my mom was young, so that's all that junk I was bringing in to that. And so I thought about it for like a week. Honestly, it was probably a week. And I was like, well, if I've learned anything in my life, it's like what everyone's doing is usually not the way to go. So I'm like, I mean, like I learned, like I learned from walking in addiction and all this stuff is like, well, if everybody's doing something, I'm probably going to want to do the opposite. So birth, right? I'm like, okay, well, if I've learned one thing, So I started, and my employer, like my boss, had a couple home births with you. And so obviously, like I have to tell my boss, like, hey, I'm pregnant, da da da. And they were so sweet at the time. It was like, okay, like we support you, like da da da. What's your plan? Like just curious. And they didn't push anything, but obviously my boss was like, hey, like I've had a couple home births, Sabrina, if you want any information, let me know. And like left it at that. And I was like, okay. And so it was already in my head. Like I knew the moms, and just in the back of my head, I'm like, all of these moms, those are the families that seem like healthier. Like, and I was like, so something about that just drew me in. And yeah, I mean, I honestly thought I was nuts too. Like, I mean, everybody thought, like, you get that. Like, people think you're crazy. And like, which I now think everybody else is crazy.
Yeah, oh, I agree.
Welcome to the other
side. How it switches, right?
No, yeah, I could totally see that. Yeah.
Yeah, but I remember thinking like, okay, my boss did this. Like all of these women have done this. Like I don't really know Sabrina, but like I know she's had 8 babies. Like if anybody's done this, like she should know. Like so I'm like, okay, like thinking about all these things, and it just felt right. Like I just knew. Like and so once again, like God thing, right place, right time. I think I just had access to the information and I got to see it literally firsthand. So I thought about it for like a week, and that was that. Like, I mean, that was, the decision kind of made itself. Like, I just felt like that was right for me, and I knew that from the jump. Um, so I'm just grateful. But yeah, I mean, as a first time mom, and I had a lot of fear. I had a lot of fear around it. I mean, I'm a huge nerd, like read book person. So I mean, Grantley Dick Reed, I was reading every single book, like Ina May Gaskin, everything she'd ever put out, like all of these people in the birth world. I'm reading everything. Oh my God, I watched so many birth video. Like I was just trying to get as much information as I could. And when you look for the information, I mean, it's there. So the more that I looked, the more solidified I was in my decision of a home birth. And I was like, wow, if anything, I'm scared to have a baby in the hospital. Like, holy shit. Sorry. But like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And I knew, like, I didn't know anything about birth, but I knew a lot about trauma. And I knew I'd been through enough trauma in my life. And I really was like, I am not going to sign myself up for more trauma. Like, it really was looking at the hospital scene and hearing all these stories from women. It was like, well, I've heard how that plays out. And like, I really, because I heard all these horror stories and all the things and like the things that women will normalize. But in my head, I'm like, that is not normal. So I just knew something about hospital wasn't right. And like, I just kind of went from there and I just started researching. And there's a documentary that totally helped solidify. So also between talking with my employer and other people, I mean, I really just, the more information I looked for, the more I was like, yeah, hell yeah, I'm having a home birth, But
smart woman.
yeah.
Absolutely.
But I remember this documentary that I watched. I think I remember I was on my lunch break, like at the chiropractic office, like watching it on my lunch, and it was what's the documentary? It's like Born to Birth or the
With
The Business of
Rachel.
Being Born.
Business of
Yeah,
Being
Business of
Born.
Yeah.
The Business of Being Born. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I watched
With
that.
Ricky Lake.
Yep,
Lake,
and
that's
and it's all about. I mean, it talks very in depth about U.S. medical system and the birth and how birth has become this huge,
Very profitable.
profitable.
It's like the biggest money-making aspect of every hospital.
Yes, I mean it's a huge profit center, and then hearing all the stories from women, and it's like, I just knew I'm gonna just go this route from the jump. I'm not even gonna go through my first trauma and horror birth to get there. I'm like, I'm just gonna get there I'm just gonna do that. And so I trusted my gut and I trusted you and I trusted my boss and it was Yeah, everybody else, though, thought I was crazy, and, I mean, I
The
just, like,
beauty of
put a
working at
wall
a
up.
chiropractor's office, though, is that she became really close friends with one of the chiropractors
Uh-huh.
who
Yeah.
was present as her friend along her side through her
Yes!
whole
Oh,
labor and was
Yep.
working on her the entire time.
oh,
It was
Yes.
a beautiful thing. It was
love
so
that.
Oh
beautiful,
my
yes.
gosh. I
It
mean,
was so
yeah,
good.
I don't have a different pregnancy to compare it to, but, like, I mean, it was a dream. Like, I was at the chiropractic office, so literally anything I had, any problem, it was like, I mean, chiropractic is
Mhm.
amazing. So, like, they handled it. Like, I had the smoothest pregnancy. And having like years of chiropractic, like a year and a half of care before even getting pregnant, and then all through pregnancy. I mean, I was set up for a dream birth, you
Yeah.
know, like I was just in great hands.
Mhm, mhm.
So I had all the tools, I had all the things, and I think the biggest thing was just that mental, yeah, it was a mental, like, learning how to stand, and I'd already been kinda learning that in life, but it was like, "Oh my god, like, now I really have to stand, like, and be firm in myself," and that was, like, the first time I think that was, like, a thing, was, like, like, building my self-confidence, and you talk about this and just your work with first-time moms and, like, those first kids, like, you learn how to set boundary I mean, because yeah, it's your trial and
And
error,
I
so
do feel like the majority of our prenatal visits were really trying to encourage you to trust your own instincts and
yeah,
understand, like, this is your baby. You can be responsible for the decisions you make for this child and for your experience and for your life from this point forward.
yeah,
And, it was a lot of even though you'd already overcome a lot, I think you have trauma bonds with some people in your life,
yeah,
and so I think from my perspective, it was a big deal for you to just come to terms with being good about deciding what is best for you and
yeah.
for your child, and and yeah, in the end, she carried her baby till 42 weeks, and
Mhm.
that last like, a week before her baby was born, she's like, "I decided not to have the baby
Oh my gosh,
at my parents'
yes,
house.
Oh,
We're
yes,
gonna do it at
let's
our
let's
place,"
hear
and
that. Yeah.
I
and
almost
and
felt like
I
she
we
waited.
like jumped for joy, like, me and my students that were with me, we were just like, "Yes! We're gonna have a
Yeah,
baby now," 'cause I
Yes.
yes.
feel like she was waiting.
I think she waited,
She
yeah,
was
I
waiting.
100%
Mhm.
fully believe that, like, because it was like like I said, I mean, her dad and I were young, like, we had a house, like, he was working on it, we were trying to get into a place, but it was like the plan was I was living there and I was gonna do the birth there, and then it was like I mean, leading up to it, there was so many different things that were like, "This isn't right, this isn't right, this isn't right." I know the home birth piece I mean, following your intuition is
Mhm,
like you get pieces, right? So
mhm,
I'm like, "Okay, home birth piece feels right, but, like, something doesn't, what is it?" And it really
mhm,
was where I was choosing to birth, it was being at home. I remember being 41 weeks and, like, no sign of labor, no baby, and I'm like, "Something's not right."
mhm,
And her, like, dad got a call, and he was like, "Hey, like, the place is ready, all you gotta do is come paint it, and, like, you can get in." And it was, like, very last minute, like, with, like, a week before I had her, and I called Sabrina, and I'm like, "Hey, like, new
We're getting
plan,
into our
like, we're
place.
doing it." And another part of it was, like, at that point, like, my grandmother had told me, like, yes, like, she was finally had come to terms with the birth, and
Mhm.
she said, "You can do it here," but, like, on her conditions.
mhm,
And part of her conditions were, like, her dad, like, clock struck midnight and, like, he wasn't allowed to stay the night. Like, they're very old school.
mhm,
I'm like, "I'm having a baby. We're past all of that at this point, right?" But it was like in her version, in her world of control, like,
mhm.
no boys past midnight. So it was like, here we were getting ready to bring our daughter into the world, and
And
they're
she
like,
was not gonna let up on that.
she's telling me, like, but if it's meant, like, he can't stay the night. And I'm like, what if I'm in labor? Like, are you gonna make
And
him
listen,
leave
the
and
thing
go home? What the
is
hell?
the thing is too,
What?
he wanted to
And
be
he
involved.
wanted to be
He was a
there.
very involved dad.
Oh,
He
Yeah.
really wanted to be involved, and he was.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
honestly, yeah, I mean, they still have we co-parent now, but they still have a great relationship, and he was very young, but it was Yeah, it was like we both made a mistake, but we were both like, okay, we're gonna like be there for our kid. I mean, he grew up a lot like I did. And he's kind of got that thing too, where he's like, I'm not doing that. And so like he was involved. He wanted to be there. Like, I mean, he even watched all the birth videos I was like bombarding him with. Like,
And he was a good support
good.
And he
throughout
was a good
everything, and
support.
he was good with her. I mean, he was involved, and he wanted to be involved, and he should have been
Yeah.
encouraged to be involved, not,
Yeah.
"Oh, at this time, you've gotta leave."
But it was
They're
very
trying to make
like
a family here. Let's
yeah.
uh,
And so I think it was the day that she told me that, like, he would have to leave at midnight. And I'm like, we're living in two different worlds.
that was the
I
straw that
called
broke
her.
the camel's
Yeah,
back.
that was it.
This is
That was because then I'm like, let me play this out. Like, here I am gonna be like with this baby, and like her dad can't even help me. And I was like, hell no. Like, I called Sabrina. I'm like, no. Or I think it was like an hour later, like divine timing, right? An hour later, her dad calls me, hey, the place is ready. And I'm like, perfect. Next call was Sabrina. And I'm like, birth is happening. Like, we're doing it on our own. And then I actually followed your advice. We didn't tell anybody I was in labor. Like, I think I went into labor a couple days later. Like, it literally was.
Oh,
I
it was
think
quick.
she was literally waiting. Like, she knew. And she waited. And I didn't tell anybody I was in labor. Like, it was kind of off and on for a few days. I think by the time you even got there, I'm like, I don't know. And you get there and you're like, your contractions are like 5 minutes apart. Like, you're having a baby tonight. And I'm like, okay. So, and I mean, it was amazing. Like, it ended up, we had this little bitty house, and it was just us, and it was Sabrina's team, Sabrina and a couple other midwives. One of my great, like, really close friends who's a chiropractor that I work with, and she was there to support me. And it was her dad and I. And I mean, it was everything. It was perfect. Like, it was everything it should have been. And I really think she waited for that. And
I would also say it wasn't one of those easy butter births either. It was
No.
definitely a we're all hands on
Yeah.
deck, working this baby down and out, helping this mama process what she's experiencing and what she's feeling. But we had a baby, and it was a beautiful thing.
And I mean, it was a wild birth. Like, it was wild.
It was a hard work birth.
Yeah, it was.
It was. We were all helping and working, and there
Yeah.
were several stages where it was like, oh, let's do this. Oh, let's do
Yeah,
that.
it really was. But in my eyes, like, in hindsight, I mean, I don't know if at that time I would say it was great, but like, and I'm like, wow, like, that really was awesome, because I almost felt like that's the birth I needed, because like, it was just perfect, because I'm working on like being strong in myself and like da 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 da. And so here it was, I was kind of tasked with like this kind of tough labor at the end. I mean, like, I was
Every
like
labor is hard. Oh,
Yeah.
they're so hard.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah.
But I remember like the pushing, like, cause I got to like 9.5, 10 centimeters. Like, that part was no problem. But mentally it was like dilated and getting her down and out. It was like mental, like, oh shit, like, this is real. Like, I think up to that point, like, I could do it. And I'm like, home birth, like, I can do this. And then it was like, come to move her down. And that was where some of that, like, okay, like, I think I got out and I was like, let's walk around, and you kind of helped me break my water and whatever. But yeah, I had that like little mental thing where I was like, okay, like, but it was amazing. And her dad was there and supported me. And had we been at my grandmother's house, I think that would have been a very different story, because I mean, you at this point where you're in birth and it's like, oh my God, like, like, I'm screaming, like, it's birth, it was pretty wild there. And like, I think they would have been,
So this is
they would have been panicked. I mean, it would have been,
one of the births that really taught me so much about being very cautious about family members being around is actually a birth that Danielle was with me with. And this was, I don't know, a couple years probably before you had your little girl. But it was a birth scenario where the family seemed very, very supportive the whole time. Never, not even one inkling of, we're not sure about this. Totally 100% supportive.
yeah.
The mom was like, "My dad delivered babies at home when I was a girl," and da 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 da.
Yeah.
And then, but when it comes to seeing this family member in labor and having a baby, and it not just going just perfectly and unfolding perfectly in a short amount of time, then family members start freaking out.
Yeah.
And then they start trying to intervene, and then they mess up a woman's birth plan.
Yeah.
And you've seen that happen with
Yep.
one of my clients who ended up with a C-section, all because the family members around her that supported her whole pregnancy
Yes.
freak the heck out and just cause chaos.
Yeah.
And so it, I, I'm just like, no, that's not how that happened.
I
Because
know.
in your scenario, that very well could have been your grandmother.
Yeah.
Like saying, this is taking too long. Why is it
Well,
taking so long? Why is she having to
yeah.
work so hard? Why is she in
Yeah.
so much pain? It's like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's childbirth.
Right.
I mean, I
It's
really
what a human
Watchful
can
eyes
do.
too, just watching you. Their energy. You can literally
energy. Yeah.
feel that in the
Mhm.
Yeah.
room.
I mean, I probably
You don't
would have
have to
had a
say a word.
C-section. I really like maybe not, like that's worst case,
Yeah.
but I definitely would not have had the labor that I would have
Yeah.
because I mean, you hit a point where you're in birth and it's like, okay, you have a birth plan and you have all this information, but like I was a first time mom.
When
So like
reality hits.
you don't know what you don't know. It's like all
That's
these
right.
plans sound great till you are 10 centimeters dilated having a baby with no meds, right?
Mhm.
And it's like, it is totally something you can do. And I did it. And like, shoot, I'll do it again. Right. Like, but at
It'll
that
go better the
point,
next time, I promise.
right. And next time's even better. Right. But like at that point, when I'm in that moment, like, it was so important to like, I mean, be around women and other people that believed in me and were like, no, this is our plan. Like everything's okay. Like you guys were so calm. You know what I mean? Had I been around somebody who was in fear and been like, I mean, I would have cause
You would
I
have
was
felt
at,
it.
yeah, I was at my most vulnerable point. And I think the only person that was like freaking out was like her dad, because I mean, he was there with me. Like he wasn't having, but
He'd
it was
never experienced
his
anything
first
like this
baby. And
before.
yeah. But like everyone else, like all the midwives, even my chiropractic friend, I mean, it was her first birth, but everybody was like trusting the process
She
and
was
like
so
cool.
sweet and so respectful, though.
Yeah.
Oh, she was
She was
in
amazing.
awe. She was in awe about
Yeah.
what she was witnessing.
And it was like everybody believed in me, believed in birth. Like, and I was just like, this is fine. I'm freaking the hell out. And like, this hurts, but like, it's fine. And, but like, I really do think had I been there, it would have been a whole different world. But we followed your advice. Like, I didn't even tell anybody I was in labor. Like, it was just us. Like it was you. I texted Alicia, the chiropractor. I think I texted her like 5:00 because she was at the office, and I was like, "Hey, just letting you know, you might want to head this way, like when you leave." And she's a trooper. She worked all day, came to my birth, did the whole birth, like got like 2 hours of sleep, and went and worked the next day. Like she had a wild like 3 days. Like she was a trooper for that. But like she was the only person, like, and so everybody at work knew, like my work team, and I think they were praying over us, but like none of our family knew. Like, no, like I think she was born at like 2:30 in the morning. Like had her, we got like y'all put the sheets in the wash, like whatever. Like I mean, they like cleaned the house. Like we took a nap, and I think it was like 9 or 10 a.m. the next day. Like we had all these hours of just us. I mean, it was the three of us, and like we took a nap, and it was like, and it was just beautiful. I mean, it was amazing. And then I FaceTimed the family, and it was like, hey, like surprise, like we have somebody that wants to meet you. And it was like, here was her daughter, and then they all came over, But like nobody knew I was in labor. Nobody knew we were having her. Like none of that, because I was just starting to kind of realize, like, okay, other people's opinions and fear, like you said, and you'd been telling me, like, could really affect my labor and my birth. And so I just didn't tell anybody. And I told them after the fact. And it was amazing. And yeah, I mean, I was just like, surprise, here's a baby. Because like you said, I didn't want anybody thinking about it. I didn't want my grandmother or grandfather specifically to be like, just putting all that bad juju out there, because I knew I was going to be in labor. So I was like, I'm just going to tell them after. And it was.
I'm so proud of this generation of women that are like, I mean, I'm almost 40. So like just the 20s, like even teens, like just seeing how much boundaries and like authentic, like just their words and them coming up with plans and just, yes, it's amazing. And then they go through this process of like, this is what I want, this is what I don't like. And they're not afraid to say what's on their mind, a lot of this generation.
Yeah.
But like, and no, that's what I just love though, because it's first time mom.
Yeah.
And I wish it took me years to get where you are. Like just mentally, like I was until like my mid 30s. Like seriously, like right before I hit 35. It took me that long to realize, oh my gosh, I am such a people pleaser.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
I didn't know what that really truly meant. because I had to literally find my identity all
Yeah.
over again. And so it's like this whole process that's unfolding even still today. And then that probably is because I'm going through a season of motherhood that's a little different too, because now I have a teenager.
Mm.
So now I'm hitting things and triggers in my that has
Oh, I
happened to
can't
me.
wait for that. Yeah, I know. I'm like,
So
that's gonna be a fun road.
there's a lot of things that I'm having to work with
Yeah.
and like that triggers me that if I remember what my mother would have done, then I'm the complete opposite. But I
Yeah.
can feel that trigger still. It's like this like I can feel it in my throat.
Yeah.
And so it's like, oh gosh, how do I handle this? I wasn't taught how to
Yeah.
handle these emotions. I had them. And of course, I worked through them, but I suppressed my emotions for so
Yeah.
long. So some people don't. I suppress. And what
Suppress.
happens with me is it develops disease and autoimmune conditions and sickness.
And that's a whole nother
That's a
concept
whole yes, we
we
talked
could
about
branch
this
on
too
that.
before,
Yeah, I
yeah.
mean, that's huge. Yeah.
But like with my daughter, she does not suppress and she says everything that's on her mind and on her heart. And I really love that about her. But
Yeah.
it as a mother, I
Right.
still have to sit with that because that's a
Yeah.
lot. It's a lot to take in. And
Mhm.
so, but I feel like there's a lot of girls and young women that I see that are like this. They aren't wanting to suppress themselves. They want to be heard. They want to be seen and valued and respected.
Yeah.
And I find that so amazing. And I don't know if it's because there's something working just with this generation, maybe social media connection. People are able to read and tell stories just like you're doing right now and
Yeah.
getting this out there for other people to listen and be like, wow, maybe I should listen to this because my daughter, when I was telling them I'm coming on this podcast to sit with a mom that had that was a young mother that
Yeah.
gave birth when she was young. Her friend, my daughter's friend, was like, "Oh, I can't wait to listen to that."
Oh,
She
that's
was
so
so
exciting.
excited. You know,
That's
I'm
cool.
15 years old. I can't wait to listen to that. Like,
Yeah.
I want to hear
That's
her
so
story.
cool.
That is awesome
Mhm.
to
Yeah.
have a 15-year-old
Yeah.
Mhm.
want to hear about this authentic display
Yeah.
of emotions and a story
Yeah.
from a teen mom, and how she has, evolved
Yeah.
into the mother that she is today.
That's so
And
cool.
so
I mean, just to even hear, I'm like, oh my
yeah.
gosh.
So,
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
amazing.
that right there and, like, kind of with my work, like, my storytelling work, I
Yeah.
like to tell stories in a way that how I see things, sometimes I just, there's parts of me, like, as an artist, there's parts of me that I never was able to express, but I'm able to express it through my art.
I love that.
And
Yeah.
so, although I won't, like when people meet me, I'm a little different than what I am through my art,
Yeah.
but that's who I am inside completely.
Yeah.
And so that's expressing and exposing myself in a way that is like, that's where I see beauty. That's where I see connection. This is what's valuable to me, and this is what's valuable for the next generation.
Mm.
So, so I'm thankful for you
Oh,
coming on
thank
here
you.
and telling the
Oh,
story
I
because
love that.
this was absolutely
That like
beautiful.
totally warms my heart. That was so cool. I'm just
And
blessed to like
yeah.
even be here. I mean, yeah. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
it's a journey. I'm just blessed. I mean, really, I
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
feel
never
the
would have
same way.
pictured.
I'm just like, I don't even deserve the life that I'm living. I feel so
No, I
blessed.
mean, not at
So
all.
many
Yeah.
amazing connections that we are able
Mhm.
to sit
Yeah.
beside these women and men too.
Yeah.
Like I see so much, there's been so
Mhm.
much growth and understanding.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I love my dad to pieces, but I have seen how men actually, step into a role and be that masculine energy and be that protector, or assist in births and help in births. And
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, this is like what needs to happen in
Yeah.
this space. This is your woman's space, birth space. And so like giving them direction or just seeing that those men that actually do just naturally step into this space. I'm like, wow, wow, this is where true masculinity,
Yeah.
is. And this is so beautiful and vulnerable. These spaces that we're able to be in.
Yeah.
It's just
I mean, it's
it's
amazing.
goosebumps.
Yeah.
Like I get goosebumps thinking about it or talking about it because it's like every story is so unique, different.
Yeah.
And every personality, every baby that comes to the world, just I think to myself, like, this is someone that can change
I mean, that's a
just
whole everyone is its own little
baby.
universe. I mean,
Yes.
it's just
Can
amazing.
change
Yeah.
so much. And that's when we talk about energy too, is
Mhm.
I believe the people that are in your birth space are projecting
Yeah.
onto that child
Yeah.
too. When you give birth, their
Yep.
energy is tapped into that child's energy
Yeah.
and
And
stays with them.
I'm glad that you brought that up too, just talking about like just women and I mean, I feel like there is like a piece. That's why I love Rewilding Womb. I mean, I literally like fangirling all day about this. But I'm like, because I mean, there's a part like from women that has literally been I've stolen from us.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh yeah.
And like I said, I mean, had I not been in the right place, right time, exposed to chiropractic, and just like happened to know the things I know, I mean, I never would have had this experience that literally changed my life. And it taught me like that I can do it. Like, I mean, it changed everything about my life. And that's been stolen from women. I mean, it really has. Not only that, like just birth itself, but I mean, just health and emotional expression. I mean, I think from the jump, not only are we trained and ingrained with all this fear and all of these things, but also people pleasing. And I mean, like, I think it's getting better with each generation, like you said, because we have more tools. It's more
I
talked
think we're starting
about.
to pendulum back. We went so far in one
Yeah.
direction that now young women and young people are like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
We're going back this way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, because it is. I mean, it's huge. And like what I see, because now my daughter's 3. So, I mean, I'm years later and I've been at the chiropractic office almost 5 years. And so here I am at this point and looking back at just on the way I viewed things or the way that even some of my friends, or people that just don't know what I know, the things that we accept as truth, or all of these women that accept as truth, and they're so bold-faced like, I mean, it's just absurd. I mean, it's absolutely insane. Like, I've heard, "Oh, my pelvis was too small."
They told me
Who
that.
the hell came up with that?
No,
Like,
they told
what?
me that. They told me that my next baby was over 2 pounds
Oh my
bigger.
God.
Yeah.
Or like, yeah, or my baby would have died if that, or like, or had I not had this, like this would have happened. And it's like,
scaremongering.
it is fear tactics. It's fear projection. And the saddest part is these women don't even know that, and they've accepted it, and they'll even protect the system. Like they'll even protect hospital births and vaccinations and all the things because they're so, I mean, and it's so far from the truth.
This is why we are doing this.
Yeah.
And this is why this is exactly why I encourage all women. Tell your story.
Yeah.
Maybe we make a pact, and every time we have a child's birthday, we tell our birth
Tell
story.
the birth story.
To the
like-
whole world, all the world that will listen. We tell that child's birth story because people need to hear our good, empowering birth stories.
Yeah.
Because everyone wants to push their fear and trauma on you.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
we're not allowed, or it's not tolerated for us to share our empowering stuff. We just need to start telling it.
Yeah.
Because women
Yeah.
don't know because they're not aware of it. And the whole problem is women are just, I always say they're just giving their power away.
Yes.
Because they are succumbing and believing the lies, but it's because the majority of society believes all that nonsense.
Yeah.
And so it takes a really brave and courageous woman to step out and say, I'm not falling for all that crap.
Yeah.
And like she's saying,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
generation, like your age group women,
Yes.
you guys are able to step out of the conditioning a little easier
A little bit
than like
faster.
our
Yeah.
generations
Yeah.
have done.
Yeah.
Because like me, I'm like you, girl. I've been this independent thinker, been doing my own thing my entire life. And I'm a decade older than Danielle, but I was very, very rare. I just this rare person that just was that way. I was just mouthy
Yeah.
and sassy and rebellious, and
I love it.
See, but when I was younger, I hung out with friends like her.
Right.
So like because she was the person that was like able
Could do
to
it.
talk of how I was thinking or how I was feeling inside.
Yeah.
And so, but like the people pleasing thing, it's because you're afraid of losing connection.
Yeah.
That's all it
Yeah.
comes down to. The whole vaccine movement, the medical movement, everything. It's because they were afraid of losing connection with other people.
or being
That
shamed
is
by
where
Or being
somebody.
shamed,
that's sure.
or-
But
Well,
I never had
leaving-
connection, so I
right.
didn't care about it because
So
I
that's-
never had any
See,
like roots.
I almost feel like that's so facts for me. I think that's why it was easier for me
Yes.
to accept
Mhm.
what everyone thought was just complete nonsense, home birth
Because you
and
never
no
had a
vaccination.
foundation of anything to
Right.
build
It's
on
like,
anyway.
well,
Yeah.
I didn't have any good examples or any like ingrained like things before then.
Yeah.
I was kind of like figuring my way. And so like I just naturally like found the right information and it just made sense.
Yeah.
And so I didn't really have to like fight to like rewire all of these like ingrained thoughts because I really didn't have them because I didn't really have the parents.
But I will remind you,
you know,
we did do a lot of work on that.
we did
During
yeah.
your
I mean,
pregnancy.
yeah.
And but see, I mean, as I say that, I'm sitting here thinking, we like I feel I mean, someone can take that in the wrong direction because I feel like someone who like I as a midwife am in a trusted role, and I'm like, well, I helped you do that, and I'm not trying to take credit on myself, but I just encouraged you to go in a certain way, and I just think about totally off topic, which we might delete, but I'm just like, how can be taken in the wrong direction if you have a trusted provider that's leading you astray? You know what I mean? That you trust, and we're pushing you in a direction that's actually not healthy for you. That's kind of scary. Just a random thought that I just had as I'm like, you know?
I'm glad you brought that up because I don't think I mean the biggest thing with like you and like with Dr. Kelly and like being around those people, like part of the reason that I naturally like trusted you and went to that is because it was never forced or pushed. It was like, and I feel this way with chiropractic too, but it's like, here's this tool or paradigm or whatever, home birth or whatever it is. Here is this like way of doing things. And we know the value and we see the value. Here it is. If you want it, you can have it. If not, we don't care. Like, not like you didn't care, but it was like, I mean, you knew home birth was the best and like you knew that and you had value in that, but you weren't like Raven, home birth is the best. You know what I mean? It was just like, yeah, it's the best option. And if you want it, it's there. Versus like, and so naturally I'm like, okay, like, you know, like
So not pressure. You didn't feel
no
pressured.
pressure. Yeah. Versus like
You felt
hospital
like
route.
here's information, but no pressure.
Yes.
Yeah, that makes me feel better. Like I didn't manipulate you.
No, not at all. It was like, but I could see how sure you were in what you were doing, but without any of the pressure behind it. And it was like, okay, so they have something of value and they're not shoving it down my throat. Like I can naturally kind of go to it. And I was like that.
Yeah, research on your own.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Versus like the hospital mainstream medical, I mean, you're going to die or you're going to kill your baby. I'm like, holy shit. Like that's a whole, I'm sorry. I don't know if I can cuss on this. It out. But I'm like, that is a whole different approach to
You are
like,
so right.
you know what I mean?
Yes,
Like
you are so right.
and for me, like I said, kind of going back into just all the chaos and trauma, like I learned very young how to read the room and like you can't BS a BSer, okay? And part of like living and on my own through so long is I learned survival and like I know some bullshit when I see it, right? And it was like in hearing that and all this fear, it's like, why are they so forcing this? Like that's not right. And it just was red flags. Like I knew like and even with vaccinations, I mean, like you're gonna kill your baby or why how could you do that and da 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 da. And it's like all this push and I'm like in my gut that's not right, like I should not feel pushed to do what's right. But on the chiro side and the holistic side and the midwifery it was like there's no push there. It was just like here's the info, you know, and I was just naturally drawn to it. So I don't think you I mean you know
Yeah.
I wouldn't go down that road.
No
you know, 'cause
manipulation.
it's
Just
information.
You've already
Thank you
been
for that
thinking.
feedback.
It's just having that extra person that's like solid, but not solid. What's
Yeah.
that's solid.
Building your confidence.
Or validating me and how I,
what you've been thinking. Like,
Yeah.
oh my goodness, I'm not the only one that thinks this way.
Yeah.
Like when that opened up for me, when I noticed I had other people that thought just like me,
Yes.
I was like, these are my people. This is my tribe.
Yeah.
And yeah, I didn't have that. And like I, as a personality type, I don't know if you're into human design. I've talked to you about this, but the human design talks about this. And like I am that the connector and like an artistic like a connector, or I like to bring a connection with people.
Yeah.
And so I thrive on wanting and needing that connection too in everything I do. And some people aren't that way. And so, but they like, you know, that they love the authentic connection, but it's not something that they necessarily constantly need. And so, like, that's where, like,
That's
with
me.
yeah.
She's teaching me some balance.
So, like,
You're
yeah.
like,
So,
basically, we work
I
great
need
together.
that
Yeah.
connection, which can kind of, for a lot of people, look like codependency almost, but it's not, because more so, like, we like to just have connection with everyone.
Yeah.
And sometimes that can lead to toxic connections.
Yeah.
But I know, like, now as I'm older, like, boundaries and like, no, this isn't for me, but I still want to keep that connection still. So it's a strange kind of feeling I get in my body about this. Like,
Yeah.
you're over here, that's okay, and I'll still connect and talk with you and be friends. But like, I have my different groups of
Yeah.
people. Then so like my tribe, like I say my neurospicy people
I love
normally.
it. I
It's
love
just we
that.
are our people, and we're
Neurospicy.
able to just be very authentic with one another and be real.
Yeah.
And that's where I feel safest. And so I usually like really shine when I'm in,
In
environments like
those
that.
environments. Yeah.
And so, but I work on being myself in any situation. I try. And
Yeah.
then that's why when I meet with people like you and Sabrina, it's like you guys are just you. And that's awesome. But you've been that way since you can remember.
Yeah.
And like my daughter. And it's awesome that you guys can be that. And I
Well, thank
totally respect
you.
that.
Thank you. That's amazing. Thanks for saying
But
that.
no, yeah, but yeah, I totally, yeah, awesome. It's blown away.
Well, I
But
think I heard you say it earlier. Like, I think that can be off-putting for some people. Like,
mm,
not like not the right people,
yeah,
obviously.
yeah,
The
but
way that we
like,
are, the way that we
yeah.
are
Oh,
in
girl,
a
don't you
society,
know?
right?
Don't you know?
I mean,
my life is wrecked with people who are
Yes.
off-putted by my personality.
By you just living authentically and like doing what's best, and
Yes.
people are, oh, I know. I mean, it's crazy.
They're just so highly
So-
easily offended. I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
not trying to offend you.
I like almost want to carry a mirror, just on like a necklace mirror, and just like flash it out when like somebody's hitting me with something. Like, here's your mirror for the day. I know that's horrible. But
I love
that's
that.
horrible, but
Oh my gosh. No.
But really,
Yeah.
like living authentically, and I mean, I've always had a strong personality, and sometimes it hasn't served me well, but use it for good. But really, it's off-putting for, and I think I think it is kind of sad, is I think it triggers mostly the women that have been disconnected from that voice and that aren't able, or maybe aren't naturally, it's not as natural for them. I think it's triggering, almost. I don't know if that's triggering is the right word, or if it, because it's like, I mean, you've been told by society and all these things, and you've absorbed all of these like false narratives and things, and then you see a woman living in her truth and talking about home birth and not vaccinating your kids and like standing up for what's right. And like, I would feel very personally attacked, like, to be honest.
Yeah.
And I think it is, or almost like dissatisfied. I mean, I can't imagine, like, but I've also been that mom, or no, I wasn't a mom yet, but I've been that woman, like, holy shit, everything I know is a lie. And so it's a very, like, it's a hard point where either you can look internally and okay,
the
or
initial
you can't.
coming into that is really rough, is what you're
Yes,
saying.
yes,
When women are
yeah.
initially coming into that realization, it can be really hard for them.
Yeah.
And then it looks like they're offended by you, but it's really, like you
It's
said,
the
it's
other
their
way around.
self-reflection where
It is
they're
the
like,
other way around.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, because at 18, when I'm like freaking out because it's like, hey, I want to have a home birth, but like everybody's telling me like I'm putting myself in danger. And it's like, you do get some of that. Like, you literally have to, I don't know if you know Brene Brown. I love Brene Brown, but she talks about this thing called the rumbling, or like the reckoning, but it's this idea that you have to rumble with the false stories you tell in yourself to like get to the truth. So, I mean, it's amazing. Brene Brown has been huge in my life, but this is
that
book.
is so true.
There's this book called Rising Strong, and I just did this whole like group on it, but that's huge in that. And it's the rumbling. I had to rumble with this, like, all of the false narratives that like I had absorbed and like thought they were me. I just thought that's how I looked at the world, until you start, like, I realized, I mean, I was pissing people off and I was getting all of this stuff thrown at me. And it was like, at one point I accepted that. And then I started rumbling with it and like rewiring those narratives and realizing, oh my God, like all of those things are lies that most of the women around me believe and accept and embody. And it's like, holy crap. Like,
And
Um,
at one point, you have to step away and realize their offense
has
is
nothing to do with
it's
me.
not about me, it's not about you, that's
Mhm.
you might have to set a boundary because the way now they're treating you,
Yeah.
but that I didn't cause that by being my authentic self,
Yeah.
and that's hard, that's been hard for me to realize, like,
Mm.
stop taking responsibility because I am an over, like, take responsibility for things, like,
Yeah.
I do that to a fault to such a degree that I take responsibility for other people's choices, and I'm like, "No,
Yeah.
Sabrina, you doing what you know is right, and then them having some reaction to it, that's not your problem.
Yep.
You need to just step back and let them go over there and solve their own stuff.
Yeah.
You didn't do anything to offend them."
Yeah.
And that's the kind of torture that I'll do to myself is just sit here and reevaluate it, like, what did I do? How can I make this better? Because I want to make things better. Because
Yeah.
I do love connections and I do want to make things better. But at some point, you just have to realize, like, they're dealing with their own stuff. It's not my problem. It's not for me to fix.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
100%. I mean,
Mhm.
if I think the biggest thing I've learned in life is just not to take anything personally. I mean,
Yeah.
genuinely, like, and that
Mhm.
sounds so cliche,
Yep.
but how freeing is it when, like, you literally don't take things literally?
Yeah. You take it literally, you just don't take
You
it
don't take it
personally and make it
personally.
you
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
feel
yeah.
bad or offended because
Yeah.
of things. Yeah.
Because it is, at the end of the day, it's whatever paradigm they're living in or whatever way they're seeing the world is, I mean, that's the filter through which whatever else is coming out on the other side.
And the
Right.
It's not personal. It isn't.
and the thing
I
is,
mean,
like, for
nothing is.
me, it's just I just and maybe everyone wants people to live like they do, but it's just like because it is freeing. It's like, why are you choosing to box yourself into that?
Mhm.
Why don't you
I
choose
don't
to
know,
just
yeah.
Well,
step
they
into your
have
authentic self?
because they
It's
have the
so deep,
stressors
though.
of having to keep that mask on. It's a stress for them to do that. Like they can see you living so authentically and being yourself, but they have to put so much work on to keep that mask on to make other people happy
Yeah.
and okay. And it's not I don't know how to explain that. That's not how I view it with me with my connections, but like I know people that are like that. Like they don't want to remove that mask, but they feel safe
Yeah.
having it
I was gonna say
on.
it's a safety, it's a comfort.
Yeah.
Well, because,
It's
like, back to
all
that concept
yeah.
of rumbling, like, if I
Yeah.
have this idea and somebody on the outside tells me, like, "Hey, that idea is false," I have to, and if I fully
Mhm.
believe that, like, there's a level of rumbling and,
Yeah.
like, I have to look at myself and be able to be like, "Okay, Raven, like, truth here, like,
Yeah.
that's not true," and you have to, like, sit with yourself in that,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
it's not
Yeah.
comfortable,
It's
and, like,
not.
it's quite horrible sometimes,
Yeah.
honestly, and it's some people aren't cut out for that work, or they don't
Mhm.
want to do that work, and
Right.
that's why they're where they're
They
at,
go back, yes. Yeah.
and so and some days, I don't wanna do that work either, but, it's
But
like,
what
what's on
she
the other side.
described sounds like so much more work.
I mean, that's what I think. I think
Well,
that
that's what
too,
I'm saying, that
yeah.
is a lot of work, and that's why
But
they're
for
so
them, that's
it's not
normal.
jealousy, but it's more like envy. Like wow, you can just be your
How
true
can you
self.
live
How
authentic?
can you live that way? And here I am having to do all this other work
Yeah.
to not and they don't even know who their true person, their true self is.
Well, there's this
It's
concept, not like a concept, but like one of the bases of chiropractic, because chiropractic is so huge in what I do, and just holistic health and home birth, it all bleeds in. But biggest difference is the respect for innate intelligence. And I think that ties into what the problem is nobody's connected to the
Mhm.
innate intelligence or like who they freaking are.
Mhm.
Like, you know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they don't even know who they are authentically.
Mhm.
And just the concept of innate intelligence and which is for people that are listening, it's just the idea that like your body is so smart and it has this innate intelligence. It's born with this intelligence, like you making new blood cells or creating new cells or breathing on your own or your heart beating. All of those things are innate intelligence. And chiropractic respects that. It removes the interference so your body does what it does best. modern medicine suppresses and treats symptoms, and it stops that innate intelligence. That's where the difference is between like root problem solving and symptom
Mhm.
suppression, which is
Yeah.
the biggest thing in the modern medical world that I mean I could go on a tangent on.
I was gonna say, yeah.
But I think it
Whole other
relates.
topic.
I mean, yeah, I mean we can talk for hours.
Yeah, the
But
disconnection from self.
I think that's what I'm getting at is it's that
Yes.
disconnection from self,
Mhm.
that disconnection from the innate intelligence.
Mhm.
And then it's those people in that state, they protect the system and they're so indoctrinated
Yeah.
that they protect, and all that fear and all that crap comes out
Mm.
the wrong way, you know,
Mhm.
because they're
Because
so
they're giving their
disconnected.
power away to something outside of themselves and
Yes.
putting trust and faith in something outside of themselves instead of what their gut tells them,
Yeah.
what their
Mhm.
instinctual, authentic self wants and needs and is saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But think
Wow.
about how
Oh my goodness.
yeah.
This is crazy.
But think about for somebody like
Mhm.
this is why I say trying to take things personally. And I use this with my grandmother, for example, because I really try to put myself in her shoes. Like, think about somebody that's in their 70s and they have been living this way for 70 years or believing these things for 70 years. I mean, to a level, like, how devastating would that be to fully accept the idea that I have innate intelligence? I am in control of everything in my reality. I mean,
Mhm.
70 years in, I mean, that would be like a punch to the throat. I mean, really, like that's what
Mhm.
I think.
Mhm.
I think that's what part of the problem is like, well, if that concept is true and I really do have all the power and my body has this innate intelligence, what the hell have I been doing for 70 years? I mean,
Yeah.
you know, I think that's a part of it. I think it's a you know,
Yeah.
it's like, wow, I can't be comfortable in a victim mentality or in a the world is as it is mentality, because if I'm really fully like responsible, I'm fully responsible. And then that, you know, and
Mhm.
so I think there's a level of that people don't want to deal with
They'd
either.
rather stay in
They'd rather
denial
stay in
and in
denial.
Yeah.
their
Yep.
facade
Or in their
of
victim mentality
Yep.
or in the
uh-huh.
world is out to get me.
Yep.
Because if the world's not out to get you and it's just you, well, shit, you know?
Yeah.
You
You've
made your
created,
bed.
and some
Yeah.
people don't wanna lay in that bed, and I think
Yeah.
that's part of it too, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. We have a couple topics.
Listen, we
I know.
got the
Even like the denial thing
I
too
love
is a
it.
huge thing that's happened with the generations of the 70s, is that denials we put under the rug and not addressing what generational trauma has
Mhm.
surfaced. Like now your kids or your grandchildren are doing the work because they're
Yeah.
seeing this
Yes.
Yes.
generational trauma coming out and unfolding, and it's like they're still not addressing it.
Yeah.
No, we don't want to talk about that. No, this is what's causing alcoholism,
Yeah.
alcoholics and drug addicts and everything, because people
Yeah.
are like, no enablers or anything like that, because they're sweeping it under the rug. They don't want to see it. They don't want to address it.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel like a lot of that generation,
Yeah.
when it comes to their family members, they're not, talking about grandpa or uncles or that have mental health issues.
Yep.
Like they think their family has perfect health or perfect mental health and nothing's wrong with their family. I'm like, have you
Yeah.
seen the list of things that's unfolding right here? And now
Yeah.
your kids or your grandchildren are being like doing the work and saying, "Hey, this needs to stop."
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
now it's like they still don't want to see it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's all. What do they call this now? They call therapists. A lot of that
Woo
generation doesn't like
woo
therapists,
woo or like
psychologists,
yeah.
woo-woo, chiropractic care.
Oh,
They
yeah.
don't like any of that.
Oh, I
Yeah.
mean, just the
Just like,
chiropractic
uh-huh.
conversation
Yeah.
with my folks
They
is
don't like
like
it.
so let alone home birth, you know what I mean?
So,
But just
yeah.
chiropractic. But yeah, I mean, that's
Yeah.
a great point. I mean, I
They
think that's where it's uncomfortable
Yeah.
and that's where it's hard.
They don't yeah.
And that's where, I
It's
mean, some
easier
people
for
either
them
grow or not.
yeah,
Yeah.
to live in denial. It's easier for
Yeah.
them to live.
Now, and devil's advocate, granted, I think at my age, I have a lot more information at my fingertips, a lot more
Mhm.
tools. So I'm sure it is a hell of a lot easier to start where I am right
Yeah.
now
Yeah.
versus like my grandmother at
Right.
24 probably had none of these like nobody even
Oh,
wrote about it.
no.
Like nobody even knew. So
Yeah.
like that is one thing that my generation, I mean, I love, you're giving us a lot of credit. I mean, I love it. But we do have a lot more tools and that
Mhm.
is something to be aware of. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean with the generational thing, it's I deeply resonate with that because I mean, my mom was born into all the chaos and didn't deal with it and just passed it all on to me. And here I am, I'm dealing with like her generation and the generation before. I'm like, I'm fighting like bloodlines here, you know? But
I
that's
know, me too,
like,
girl.
I have a daughter, and it's like, this is not gonna go to her. Like, it's gonna stop somewhere. And if it has to be me, then so be it.
Yeah.
But God forbid that I just sit by and pass it on to her,
Yeah.
you know? Um,
Very lucky.
well, thank you.
Very lucky.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
But yeah, I'm glad you said that because I mean, 100%. I mean,
Great. Wow. I feel like we just start scratching the surface of a deeper conversation with so many of these episodes that we do.
yeah.
It's like, oh, I wish we had more time to go
I
deeper
know.
about some of this stuff, but we only have a certain amount of time.
Yes.
And so maybe we'll
Life.
have you back another day and we'll talk
Yeah.
about some of these deeper things. But
Yeah.
we really appreciate having you here and sharing your
Yeah.
story.
Thank you.
And we really encourage anyone who's watching these episodes, if you enjoy it, comment below or ask
Yeah.
us a question. We would love to, like, if there's something that you're like, I have a question about this, go a little deeper on that. Please comment because we
Yeah.
would love to
Yeah.
engage with you and answer questions. Share it, like it, subscribe to our channel. Um, and we just appreciate you guys being here. And we appreciate you, Raven, for
Well,
coming and
Thank
sharing.
you.
Thank you for having me and just giving me the opportunity to like sit and talk about me. And yeah, I mean, you know, you changed my life just with home birth and knowing you and just all of it. And obviously it's the first time we've met, Danielle, but I mean, I'm familiar with your work and you know, it's just so hand in hand with what I do. So I'm just grateful to be here and to have the opportunity to talk. So
Thanks.
yeah.
Thank you.